To begin with, we have Edson, and I know you have some research and some survey results for us that the attitude of journalists now on hand in the industry about generative AI. Can you share more with us?
Yes. Thanks, Trevor. Very happy to be here. As Trevor mentioned, I was a newspaper reporter before, but unlike you, I chickened out. So now I'm studying journalism and teaching journalism instead. I'll be sharing with you some research that we've been doing at our center, the Center for Information Integrity and the Internet at NTU in Singapore. There's been lots of research being done on automation many years ago, but automation used to be studied and implemented as an organizational form of adoption, meaning news organizations invest in automation technologies, and it also opened a way for technology logic, to go into media logic. So these tools were not designed originally for journalism, but I think what's interesting now with generative AI is we can also look at it as an individual level adoption where individual journalists, regardless of whether their organization is okay with it or not, can actually use AI in their work. What I'll be sharing with you will be findings from two surveys that we've done. One with Singaporean journalists as part of the Worlds of Journalism survey. The other one as a survey of news managers from news organizations in Asia with One IFRA. So the first baseline findings would be based on a survey we've done in Singapore. We've asked journalists in Singapore whether their news organization uses generative AI. We have only 21.8% of our 170 respondents saying that their organization uses Gen AI. In terms of whether they are using it, a smaller percentage, 17.9%, said they're using it. But a large percentage, 64.7%, say that they're not opposed to using it. They're not using it yet, but they're also not opposed to using it. But we see some skepticism among Singaporean journalists. You see, when we ask them about different attitudes toward the use of Gen AI, 64.7% say that they do not trust the quality of work produced by Gen AI. So there is some openness, but at the same time, some skepticism. But again, this is consistent with journalists' attitudes being protective of our turf, right? I think in the earlier panel, there's some discourse on how there may be some unwillingness to embrace change. When we ask them how their company uses generative AI, these are the four broad areas where they use it. One, idea generation and refinement, using it for headline testing, for example. A lot of them also talk about using it for transcription, translation, summarization. Others use it for content improvement, checking grammar, proofreading. For me, was the most interesting, I would say the most contentious use is using it for content generation and writing. One participant said they use it to create a first draft of an article or even generate an email. Moving into our survey with Asian newsroom managers, we also asked them whether they allow their journalists to use Gen AI, such as ChatGPT, when producing stories. It's split. 51.1% of about 50 respondents said they allow their journalists to use it. Those companies that allow their journalists to use Gen AI, about 64% say they have ethical guidelines in place that guide their journalists in terms of how they should use Gen AI. In terms of attitudes, we see positive attitudes, mostly positive attitudes from news managers saying it's useful and it's helpful in their work. In terms of how they're using it, I tried to map it across, the different stages of news production, from access and observation to selection and filtering to processing and editing. So these are some of the responses we got in terms of how their news organization are using AI. The question, though, is, okay, it's saving us time, it's making our work processes more efficient if we can outsource some of the work to generative AI. But one thing I'm thinking about is, with all these time that we save, what are newsrooms going to do with it, right? Are we going to produce more bite-sized content? Are we going to give audiences more things to pay their attention to? And that might inadvertently add to this discourse of news overload, news fatigue that we've discussed in the earlier panel. And second, the question is whether audiences actually like content from Gen AI. I think that's another question that we've also been thinking about. We're doing some research on experiments, looking at how audiences respond to Gen AI authored news pieces. But I'll reserve that for another discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Edson. And how news people are looking at the novel ideas or new paradigm of the AI is shown on the statistics. And for the rise of artificial intelligence, there are many problems arise. Like it possibly enhance the efficiency, speed up the news gathering process, but at the same time, fact checking and upholding editorial standard is also very crucial for newsroom now upon the rise of AI. So we have some execution problems for in the newsroom. So how about in NHK? What is the employment of AI, or what is the execution about AI in NHK?
If I can try to get my presentation. Oh, oops, went too far. To be honest, at NHK, we are not actively using generative AI as of yet. However, we are using general AI. I visited Thai PBS yesterday, and I think PBS was also talking about AI newsreader. Being from Japan, manga is very important to us. We had AI newsreader manga, as you can see, which originally started in 2018. And currently, we're not using the manga. We're just using the voice. And how we're using the generative AI newsreader is that, for instance, if you can look at the green screen, it's about a candidate's biography. We need to broadcast by regulation the political election candidates. There was one election that came up a couple of weeks ago to elect the governor of Tokyo, and we saw a record 56 candidates. And it would be very hard for a human being to read 56 biographies. So we had the AI newsreader do that. We also use it for daily news, and we also use it for disaster-related news airing throughout the night because you don't want to have a newsreader read through all the night. We also use AI to summarize news segments and programs. In the earlier panelist, we heard about people not being patient to watch the whole segment. So what we do is we have the AI transcribe the introductory paragraph or the lead. The AI selects the best shots, and it automatically selects footage that matches the lead. For instance, a 3-minute, 30-second segment would be a 20-second segment. Our new news is 15 minutes. We could shrink it down to 3 minutes. This is my last presentation. We also use AI translation for our live streaming. On the left-hand side, you see the CNN debate from, I guess it was last week. And we use it for 11 languages, including 8 types of English and 3 types of Chinese. We also did it for President Putin. And as you can see, the challenge is more about visualization rather than the translation itself. There's too many Japanese words crunched into one screen. So with regards to Gen AI, we recently updated our editorial policy. But as I said at the outset, we're not actively using it as of yet. So I'm very eager to hear what my friends and colleagues are doing in their newsroom. Thank you.
So Kaori, do you see any risk in implementing Gen AI in the newsroom operations?
Actually, I do. We're not sure what it will bring out. And at NHK, I think we're very cautious. So we're trying to see what other news organizations are doing. But we are trying to be prepared and trying to think about the risks as well.
Did disinformation and misinformation that are provided or generated by artificial intelligence, how to tackle those? How to avoid broadcasting something generated by AI directly? Any gatekeeping?
Well, obviously, you need to fact check, as the Prime Minister of Thailand earlier mentioned today. We are also using third-party AI tools to catch fake footages, but we aren't actively using it as of yet.
Thank you, Harley-san. And we have Kanokporn. Thank you for the tour yesterday that we've been to Thai PBS for very thoughtful ideas of employing different social media platforms. And we would like to know more that how Thai PBS respond to the surge of generative AI. Any implement into the process of information gathering?
Yes, thank you, Taylor. Nowadays, I think media organization in Thailand is, and worldwide was that aware in the AI impact. In the Thai PBS in particular, we use the AI a lot of integrated with this product and services. I have the few slides to show the example of the AI that integrated with our product. If you see the, if you visit the website with the visual, we create the AI, that is the AI to create the image and video. And if you visit there, if you see our product in short form video via social media, the anchor, that is the AI. And if you go to the news website, news.thaipbs.or.th, you will see the audio player that is generated the AI voice, that is the AI. And next, if you visit or have the question via Live Thai PBS and Facebook messaging, that is the AI as well. And in the television, so now Thai PBS, if you some the sport promoter and sport promotion, we have the AI voice as well. And this year, if you visit the website in live streaming and the Thai PBS application, you will see the icon is vertical live. That is the AI. And the AI can generate the segmentation of the audience. Vipar is the video streaming platform of Thai PBS. We have the playlist of the special playlist for each audience and smart recommendation, that is the AI. And this year, we try to use the AI for integrate with the newsroom for the news summary. This is not launched right now, and our website and application is automatically to summary by AI to the short article. And for sport program, we try to use the AI data integrated when the sport program puts the more knowledge, more data via television on air. Okay, that is an example of the Thai PBS. That if you know that another way, Thai PBS use the AI integrated the product and services and develop and set the training program for the journalists and content creator, and many positions have to train and reskill and upskill for the AI program, training program. And the other part, we partnership with the technology company and startup to try the AI in newsroom and other part with the production as well.
How do you see Gen AI's potential? How would Thai PBS employing AI in the future, like 3 to 5 years? What do you think? How would AI change the industry?
I think in next 5 years, I think the AI will powerful more than this, and I think that everyone accept the AI powerful, and I think PBS will have to improve the AI in the product. I think the hyper personalization in personalization recommendation, the high quality with the content creation and production. That the high quality, I mean not only the news article, but high quality for the smart recommendation, high quality for production, high quality for the work faster, and the better the accuracy of AI, high quality for format for the serve the content for audience. Everything And the most important for the newsroom is the workflow, you know, the internal, the system, the software, every software in the next, I think they embedded or integrate with the AI.
Thank you. And from research to execution, we found pros and cons of AI. So we have Jirawat here, who is working in the technology industry that maybe have another viewpoint for us.
Right.
How do you think the media sector employing Gen AI, do you think they are using it right, or anything that we could add on by AI? How do you think of that?
Thank you. I think from what I heard, I think they're going to the right direction at the first step, where you use AI to do kind of a bookkeeping things like edit the typos or get summaries to reduce the man hours. But I think the kind of the end goal, in my opinion, is that what AI is doing is it brings human into the digital form. So if you look at ChatGPT, for example, it's not just a pure technologies that learn about random information on the internet. You have people sitting behind it, telling it what to think. Right? When you ask specific questions, let's say I ask them a lot about how to code, there is actually a real programmer behind the technologies that teach them that this is the good way to code. Or if you ask them about like specific political views, for example, there is a pattern that it will answer. So I think from the media point of view, I think they should start with non-technology questions. So basically, who exactly they are, how are they different from other medias, and then figure out how to put that uniqueness into the generative AI, so the generative AI can think like they can do. Right? You don't, let's say you use ChatGPT, you should not just go there and ask questions, because then you will get ChatGPT AI to your content. But if you pre-train your ChatGPT to be, let's say, Thai PBS GPT, then everything that you say will reflect on the kind of the core values of the news company. And I think that's the next step that the media industry should go to. Otherwise, everyone will just go to ChatGPT and produce pretty much similar content. So in a sense, when you think about generative AI, personally, I think you should think in terms of discriminative AI. So basically, how would you discriminate yourself from the rest, where everyone is using generative AI? So that's kind of my short answer to your question.
And as you have said, we have to introduce a generative AI or a chatbot, which is according to the DNA of newsroom. How could we do that? Any expectation,
right.
or anything that we could start now
Yes.
and to kick off this?
Well, you can start talking, kind of brainwashing the ChatGPT to be your DNA first, right? So, for example, before you asking them certain questions, you can specify the characters of the chatbot first, or you can specify some sort of values into them first, and then you test first whether they really talk like your DNA before that, and then you can use it. But having said that, because of the nature of the LLM technology, large language model, which is behind things like ChatGPT, you cannot be 100% sure of what they're going to talk about. So I think another area that is quite important and the media should be working on is the auditor AI. So you should have an independent AI model that do the audit for your generative AI. For example, if it starts to say something that not according to the company's value, it should flag and report to the people.
Jirawat has brought a really novel point of teaching AI to help the newsroom. Though we know all this is about input, that we have to get investment into the AI. Under many circumstances, post-COVID, economic downturns, newsroom now are really scarce in putting in new investment into AI. And how could we utilize the money, or what we should do first by limited investment into AI?
Well, what I said just now, I don't think you need to use a lot of investments. I think ChatGPT relatively is quite cheap. If you consider the cost per token, you don't need to really buy stuff. Everything can be done online. So I think it's important to have a few people that work on training the AI full time, so that the AI can have the DNA of your company, and then you can generalize that. I don't think cost would be an issue on this part.
Okay, and I have a question for all of our 4 panelists. And do you think generative AI is changing the criteria of we picking editors or journalists or producers? Do you think they are in a competition?
You mean human journalists and
Yes.
and AI?
AI.
I can understand how some journalists might see it that way. When the idea of automation was new in journalism, a lot of journalists expressed fears about job displacement. We saw a little bit of that, I think, but not a lot. With AI, I think some of the individual journalists see it more as something that can complement their work, because it can help simplify, automate some of the processes that they used to do. So I don't see it as a form of competition. But I think it boils down to the sense of accountability. Is who do we hold accountable when things go wrong, especially if we're using AI in a lot of our work. If things go wrong, will the machine be held accountable? How would that look like? Or the human journalist should still be held accountable?
How about selecting newcomers of the newsroom, like new journalists, new editors? Do they need any extra abilities or extra knowledge on AI to be employed?
I think it will be important from now on that the journalists on the ground know what's going on, know what you can do with generative AI, what you cannot do. And I also think that people on the C-suite, the executives also need to know what's happening. And if I can build on what was discussed earlier, I think there could be competition with regards to creativity. I noticed that in the Thai PBS presentation that you use Adobe Firefly. The impression zombies that I created were created by Adobe Firefly. We cannot broadcast that, and we cannot stream that due to our IP, our intellectual property rules. So competition, not just among journalists, but I think in the creative area might become an issue as well.
Yes, for me, it's, I think for new skill, for journalist or producer or content creator, I think have to learn the new thing. But for most important, the first thing I think understanding AI. The journalists have to understand it because the technology is it cannot stop or hold back, and AI will become smarter. So the journalists or everyone, I think everyone have to jump into the AI transformation, to learning, to upskill, reskill, to try the AI to welcome the AI in your life. And the second one, I think the skill about the data or AI literacy, because as you know, the AI in the future, AI will get them throw the information a lot in the digital space, have the more information. AI will help you to make it easy, faster. But I think journalists have to upskill to have the verification, to have to prove the fact, to have to find the original sources, that fact-checking. This is a duty of the next journalist. And the last one, I think journalists have to be the audience engagement, interest in audience engagement, because in the future, technology will change your audience change anymore. So because your audience is not the passive audience anymore, so journalists have to concern the engagement and via every platform and and so on. I think many things that journalists have to learning, but the most important thing is the journalists or everyone have to skill the adaptability and continuous learning, because technology has changed so fast, more and more. I think that is. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanokporn and Jirawat.
May I add maybe a little another angle here on the cybersecurity? I think it's quite important with the generative AI as well. So let me give you an example. Let's say I use generative AI to create impression zombies. I really like the term. Except that with generative AI, my zombies look exactly like people. Instead of like very short posts, I can have a slightly longer post that's something that look like have a good logic, but it's actually a fake news. So I can use this tool, for example, to put some political bias, for example, into the internet to create some sort of attack, to someone. And then on top of that, let's say I can fake even my digital identities of this AI to be Thai PBS AI. So now I can kind of use this cybersecurity attack to fake that, to create an attack on Thai PBS that she is the victim who created this generative AI to attack other people with the impression zombie. So all these things they go together. So I think when you think about the threat of generative AI, we should not just think about like the fake news, but it's also the cybersecurity as well, because generative AI is like a super superhuman with digital identities, and if that digital identity is stolen, then that's it. Your DNA got stolen.
Thank you, Jirawat. And last questions. News is always about human touch that we see from NHK, Manga, Anchor, it's alternatives, but we are not quite using it now. So how do we have a good balance between human touch storytelling and efficient storytelling by AI?
I'm supposed to go first. Okay. Okay, I think you're touching on an important point, which is the audience perspective. We've been doing experiments looking at how people respond to AI attributed stories. An experiment that we did across 3 countries: Singapore, Korea, Germany, and the US, 4 countries actually. We found that across the board, when we tell people that this story is written by AI, they tend to trust it more than when we tell them that the same story was written by a human. So there's something that's going on in there. But it's not just attribution, but it's also like maybe how it's written. In another experiment, we also manipulated whether it's written in an objective manner or a subjective manner. I think audiences have expectations of how certain types of authors behave. And when those expectations are violated, they also then respond accordingly.
Kaori?
Like it or not, it's coming. And if you're not going to use it, the AI is going to be using you. So I think we should know what's going on. And I think the last word should be given to the human beings. And as you put it in your question, to make our workflow efficient, I think we should use AI. But the last word should be given to the humans.
Thank you. And Jirawat, do you have any?
The question again?
Human interest and efficiency.
Right.
A balance between when we're using AI.
Human efficiencies. Well, human efficiency. Sorry, I don't exactly get the question.
It's about storytelling.
Right.
When we use AI,
right,
we always focus on the efficiencies.
Right, right.
But sometimes we would like to have some personal human interest stories.
Okay,
so how can we have a good balance between that?
Well, it's what I mentioned earlier. Is I think the challenge is how do you put the DNA of your companies into the AI. And if I would do it, if let's say I'm a CEO of a media company, which I'm not, I would have a team to work full time to put the DNA of the company to the AI. and then use the AI to generate some, let's say, articles, and then we pass these articles down to the employees in the team and see whether they can identify whether it's human written or the machine written or not. If it passed the test, which is called Turing test, then that's it. You get the ChatGPT of your company.
So it's very important for Newsroom to employ AI and make it into themselves, to absorb it instead of just having another AI outside.
Which is possible. It's not just like one prompt and you get the answer. It's about brainwashing the AI to be yourself as well.
Thank you, Jirawat. And it's a wrap for our sections, and it's time for another panel discussions. And let's give a big round of applause again for our 4 panelists.